Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Accelerate Your Life podcast. I am your host, as always, Mallory Marks, and I'm very proud that this is episode either 17 or 18. And I probably should have looked it up before I started to make a statement like, I'm so proud we did this many episodes. But either way, it's at least a third of a year that I have now been consistently doing these because I did the math and a third of a year is 17.3 weeks. So whether it is episode 17 or 18, I have done either right below or right above a third of a year. And originally when I started this, I said I was going to do it every Thursday, release an episode every Thursday. And then I'm not going to lie, some weeks came by and I'm like, really busy. I don't know what to talk about. Nobody's going to notice. I don't even think I have that many listeners. I'm just going to skip it. And then Tuesday or Wednesday rolls around and I'm like, no, just record something, Mallory. You made this promise to yourself. So even if there's nobody out there listening to this, I am proud of myself because I kept the promise to myself of this podcast has stayed weekly now for 17 or 18 weeks. Obviously, you will know when you're listening to this because I will have it in the episode podcast title. I just didn't look it up before this. But today, this is probably going to be a pretty short episode. But today, I just wanted to talk about something that's been very on my mind lately and very special to my heart. And that has been adult friendships. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because this has become such a prominent theme in my life the last 6, 7 months since moving to Austin and finally finding kind of what I always had thought was possible to find in adult friendships, and what I like yearned for, but not knowing like, does it really exist? Will I find it? Am I meant for that? Um, and I have found it. I have also like come to believe that I am meant for it and that could be a whole nother episode. I feel like I say that on every episode, something comes up and I'm like, another episode. But kind of my own insecurities when it comes to friendships. And I think some like past, I don't love to use the word trauma because it sounds so significant, but little t trauma of, friends maybe kind of leaving or friends not including me in things and having like a I'm not worthy enough of this type of like deep friendship kind of um I guess mentality, and coming to unlearn a lot of that and realize that no, I am meant for this. And I've really found that. But more specifically, like diving into kind of what I have found that I value in adult friendships, what I had looked for, and what I really, really appreciate about the friendships that I have found and I do have in my life now. And if anything, I would love for this episode to just kind of prompt anybody listening to think about, what do you look for in your friendships, and do you have that? Do you have above and beyond that, or do you want to try to change things? Do you want to expand your circle? Do you want to make new connections? Do you want to potentially move and find what you are looking for in this regard? And some people are totally fine with, not having a lot of friends or not having these deep connections, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But I had felt like a big reason for me making this move to Austin is that I had felt for a long while, probably like my years from graduating college to, until I made the move, of that I was just really missing like this connection in a like platonic friend sense. And I feel like I had seen a lot on social media of other people, and I hate using social media as a kind of comparison or baseline of like things that you might want. But there are like pros to it. And there are times that you can see what other people are doing and see that it's possible. And I felt like I was just seeing these connections and friendships, specifically of the people I did already know that lived here in Austin, but just in general, like anyone that I kind of followed, that seemed truly, I mean, there was always some where you're like, ugh, like I know that's just your highlight reel, but then somewhere I'm like, they genuinely seem like they are like love each other so much, have so much fun together, live life together. I'm like, I want that. And one thing I do want to interject before I go any further is this is not anytime I talk about like how happy I am to be here and the relationships and friendships I formed here, in Austin, it's not a slight to any of the friendships and relationships I did have before that in Charlotte. Because to be quite honest, like one of my best friend, my absolute best friend, Rachel, you guys will probably hear me talk about her in future podcast episodes. She has been my best friend for years and years and years, and she will be my best friend for the rest of my life. Truly, like she's the one person I feel like besides my parents that I've ever felt like that unconditional love from. And I, besides the kind of the little trauma I mentioned earlier, like she I've never had to worry about that with her. Um, and so, she was the the reason it was so hard for me to leave and move and take this risk for so long. And then I do have a couple other friends who I was very close with, but a couple of them don't even live in Charlotte. Another one, my friend Allison, lives in Charlotte, and like I loved having our friendship, and we still have our friendship, but I just knew there's more. Like I just and equality over quantity is absolutely true, but I just felt like these extra like layers and kind of group, I guess, like a group was missing. So made the move and am really, really happy to say, like, I cannot believe it's only been like 6 months because some of the connections that I've made, I just feel like I've been best friends with these people forever. And I already did have some connections before I moved. So it's not like this base was coming off of absolutely nothing. These people weren't strangers. Um, but it's just been really, really special. So, without further ado, I think just highlighting some of the things that these are going to be things that I was looking for, things I found, things I really, really appreciate in my adult friendships now, um, that check all those boxes. And I'll start with the thing that really prompted this episode is I was just noticing, like the last few times that I've seen and left my friends, I have just noticed how I love this, but how funny it is that if anybody else was watching us from the outside, they would probably assume that when we see each other and say hello, it's like the first time we've seen each other in months, even though we probably saw each other the night before. And same thing when we leave. Like if strangers were watching us say goodbye to each other, you'd think that we like are visiting from out of state and we're about to leave and like you won't see each other again. We won't see each other again for months. This actually came up because we were leaving my friend Kaylin's apartment after doing a little clothing swap. Like she was moving and wanted to get rid of some of her clothes, and we all went over and were like trying on her clothes. It was so fun. And then this was like an hour hangout, it's not, and then we're leaving and we're getting in the elevator to go down, and we're all like, there's five of us, and we're all exchanging hugs. Every one person has to hug every one person. And we literally saw each other the day before and we're seeing each other the next day. And there was two other strangers on the elevator. And I was just like, if they're like, as a fly on the wall, I was pretending to be in their head. I'm like, they probably think we're like just girls who are visiting and never see each other. And then a group of eight of us worked at a coffee shop the other day, and every time a new one came, because everybody kind of got there at a different time, we all get up and we all hug each other. Like all seven, people who are already there are hugging the one person that came, and it's just I really love that. Like our friends are not afraid to show love and show affection and physical touch, and make sure that you know that you are valued, and they're very genuinely like happy that you are here, and they're sad to see you leave, and they're excited to see you again. And that's something that I have just really appreciated is the fact that we say hello and goodbye like we haven't seen each other in months and we're going off to war. So that's been, and it's pushed me out of my comfort zone too, because I'm not the biggest physical touch person. And it's just not something that comes naturally to me, but I appreciate it. And so it's been something I've really liked. Other things that I've really, really found I value and I think is so unique, and maybe it's not unique, maybe it's just something that I have not like had, I guess, before, but we are very good at asking each other to hold ourselves accountable. So, what I mean is if we have something that we are working on or, we want to be better at, where a lot of people I think would, their ego kind of kicks in and they don't want to admit that they're struggling with something or they're not good at something or they need help with something. We are the opposite. We are like, hey, here's what I'm struggling with. Here's what I want to be better at. Here's how I want you to hold me accountable. I want you to call me out. I'll be vulnerable here. This is really, really not good to admit, but I think it's really intricate to the story because it was something that happened recently, and um, it just showed me how great my friends are, and also too like how it brings out high qualities in me. But I have a bad habit of sometimes being on my phone when driving. It's not good. I want to be much better at it. I know it is not good. And I decided to bring it up to my friends. And I said, "Hey, I noticed I've been doing this, and a lot of times, like it's specifically three of my friends who I'm in a group message with, and we are kind of talking all day." And I was like, if you hear me sending a voice message while I'm driving, or I'm going somewhere because I told you I was or something, and you get a text from me, I want you to say, Mallory, put your phone away. I'm not answering this to you right now. Get off your phone. Like, please call me out on it. And a lot of people like one thing I guess what I'll say here is this is less, I mean, it is about my friends doing that and holding me accountable, but it's more about like this, how they've made me want to be a better person. Because again, I think an old inclination of me would have been not to admit that, never to ask for support with that, fear that I was going to get judged. But here I am being like, no, I'm going to admit this to you, and I'm wanting to be a better person. I'm wanting to be vulnerable, if that makes sense. I have another friend, like one of those in that same group. She wants to be better about being off her phone. So she told us that she wants less screen time. She said she was going to be less active in the group chat. And if we found that she was texting back more than usual, or liking posts on Instagram or whatever, to tell her to stop, to call her out on it. And again, a lot of people would not be open to that feedback. So I just think it's really cool that it not only creates a space for me to want to be better and to not be like, have my ego kick in and admit when I'm wrong. It makes me want to admit when I'm wrong, but it also, a lot, like they are also okay with receiving that feedback, and they ask to be held accountable too. And that kind of goes to my next one. It's just, I think my friends are so great at being receptive to feedback and giving feedback. Truly, like we hold each other to high standards. So if we see someone kind of falling out of the standards that we know they are capable of, or they're not living up to the qualities that they claim to be, or operating on the moral compass that we hold each other to as friends, we say something and we talk to them about that. And again, like for the most part, not only do I love that we to hold each other accountable, but that the person being held accountable is really open to the feedback and accepts it lovingly because it is out of love. And it's something that I think is just very mature and very, very cool to see. And then another thing, that has been very good for me, it has been just, well, sorry, I have this tendency where I feel like I preface everything and then I don't get to the point, but that there's never any sort of peer pressure or judgment when it comes to partaking in anything, not partaking in anything, like things like, drinking, right? Are you going to drink tonight? First of all, my friends don't really drink, all that much, but like drinking, or like even just doing something you're not feeling like doing. Like if you're tired and you want to stay in that night and not go to do whatever, or you're like, I'm going to go home early, or there's no, oh no, stay out, you're being lame, or come on, have another drink, or nothing. Everybody is totally fine with everyone else just doing their own thing, and it still meshes together so well. Like I know there's been times past, when I was younger, where you feel like you can't leave the party first because they're going to be annoyed at you, or judge you for it, or talk behind your back, or think you're not like fun or whatever. And there's just none of that. Like no one cares, because at the end of the day, it's not about you, right? I think we work up in our head like people are gonna think this about me. People are gonna like, say I'm lame, whatever. And it's like everybody's doing their own thing. Like you are not that important. And so that's kind of what it comes down to, is everybody's like, cool, do your thing. Like if you want to be here, awesome. If you don't, no worries. Like we get it. We love you either way. We're gonna hug you like you're going off to war, and we'll see you tomorrow. So I've just really appreciated too. And it's been good for me because especially as I've kind of been a little bit more like sober curious, just feeling like I can go do things and leave early and not have to drink or whatever has been very, very nice. And then I guess the last thing that has been new and really cool is, and this I think just kind of comes down to my friend group being very entrepreneurial, but our method of hanging out oftentimes is work dates. And it's become very normal to me. But one of our other friends pointed this out the other day, that because we have a group chat. We literally have a studied group chat. And almost every weekend, a group of us meets up for a couple hours on one of the mornings and just works at a coffee shop. And I think that's normal now because I'm used to it. But I forget that like a lot of other people are messaging their friends being like, "Hey guys, who wants to go to this party and like go out, till midnight on Saturday?" And we're instead like, "Hey guys, who wants to meet up at 8 a.m. in a coffee shop on Sunday and work?" And there's not anything wrong with the previous one. And we definitely do that. Like, please don't get me wrong. We have our fun. I had a very fun weekend with two of my girlfriends this last weekend. I definitely had a little bit of alcohol and stayed out a little bit late, but the next morning we did also go to a coffee shop and work. And I think it's just been a really cool dichotomy. So it's been very, very nice to kind of see these qualities, see these things in adult friendships come to fruition that I've really always wanted. It really is a group of like the most serious and hardworking, but also the goofiest and funniest and fun loving and carefree group of people, which has been great rub off on me because I've always had a hard time finding the balance between hardworking and also carefree because they can seem very opposite, but I think that they actually can mesh together really well. And I've learned a lot from my friends with that. So, um, that kind of wraps up, I think, the pod. And again, I hope this, I am like, kind of thinking back to everything I just went over now. And I hope this doesn't come off as like, oh my God, I have the best friends in the world. I'm so cool. I'm in such a great group. Everybody like should be jealous. My friends are better than yours. Like, not at all. More so, I just want to share. I mean, really, I just do kind of want to brag on my friends. I think they're incredible. And also just share what you can have in adult friendships and like the things that I think evolve over time because these are not things I had in my college friendships, nor did they need to be. You know, we were all just kids trying to figure things out. But I think that there can be deeper levels and to friendships and what you get out of them. And I think that I'm definitely at a point in my life where if I'm going to expend energy on someone and something, it needs to expand me. It needs to push me further along. And all of these qualities that I just named, these things I appreciate in my friendships, do that for me. And so hopefully this just helps you look at yours and see, do my friendships. It doesn't have to be in the same ways either, but do they expand me? So food for thought. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Sit and think with it for a little bit, and I will talk to you guys next week.